This is Dr. Goldwire. Welcome to Lesson 2 in Applied Evidence-Based Medicine and Integrative Health and Medicine. Today we'll take a look at some other resources, including the Internet, some secondary sources, and primary sources. In the Internet, we'll take a look at the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health and the Office of Dietary Supplement websites. Both of these are supported by the National Institutes for Health. Then we'll look at the American Botanical Council website. At this website, you'll find the German Commission e-monographs and Herbalgram. We'll also take a look at some secondary literature sources such as AMED, Allied and Complementary Medicine. This runs off of Ovid, so it may look very familiar to you. We'll look at Medline, specifically through PubMed. We'll look at the Cochrane Systematic Reviews through the Cochrane database. We'll look at TRIP, Turning Research into Practice, and Google Scholar. Lastly, we'll look at some primary literature sources. These are some journals that you may be interested in, including Evidence-Based Complementary and Alternative Medicine, Herbalgram, Journal of Evidence-Based Integrative Medicine, and the Journal of Natural Products, which is the official journal for the American Society of Pharmacognosy. The National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health is a part of the National Institutes for Health. It was formed in 1991 as the Office of Alternative Medicine. In 1998, the name changed to the National Center for Complementary and Alternative Medicine. One of the reasons for the name change was that persons thought alternative medicines meant in place of traditional medicines, whereas complementary medicines means in addition to traditional medicines. But in 2014, the name changed again to what it is now, the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health. And complementary and alternative medicines is divided into 5 forms: whole medical systems, which includes homeopathy, naturopathy, traditional Chinese medicine, and Ayurveda. Also mind-body medicine, including meditation, prayer, mental healing, art therapy, music therapy, dance therapy. Biologically based therapies, including dietary and herbal supplements. Manipulative therapies, including spinal manipulation and massage. And lastly, energy, Qigong, Reiki, therapeutic touch, and electromagnetic therapy. So let's take a look at the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health website. Again, this is produced by the National Institutes for Health, which is a part of our U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And you can see at the home page here, it's divided into health information, research, grants and funding, training, news and events, and then about, which if you're not familiar with the website, I would always go to the about first. It'll tell you a little bit about that website. So if you do click about, you can get some quick facts. You'll get the mission and the history, organization structure, and can be very useful. Also a site map. If you ever can't find anything on a website and you know it's there, I would always click the about and look for the site map. But let's go back and look at the health information. And one thing I wanted to make you aware of it, they do have Herbs at a Glance, which is brief monographs on herbs. And this was just developed into a app that you can get through the App Store. Herbs at a Glance is called Herb List, and it is free. Oh, right here, download the Herb List. So if you don't have access to natural medicines, I would consider something like this to inform you on certain herbs. But as you'll see, it's a very limited list. If we look under lavender, for example, basically tells you some very simple and basic information about it. Background on the herb, what do we know about the herb, what we've learned, what about the safety, and where to go for some more information. And again, that was Herbs at a Glance. They do have healthcare professional information. There's some information here on clinical practice guidelines and literature reviews. But if we just go back to the home page, you see one of the main stories on this site is the mind and body approaches for cancer symptoms and treatment of side effects. So I did take a look into this, and one thing I did notice when I clicked here, what the science says about complementary and integrative approaches for cancer symptoms and treatment of side effects. It goes through each type of modality, and it does mention that acupuncture can help and manage chemotherapeutic-induced nausea and vomiting. So you can see how this page, this story on their homepage about mind and body approaches to cancer symptoms is directed to the patient. So you may find that your patients are coming to this site and asking you information about some of the articles that are posted here. So the Office of Dietary Supplements is part of the National Institutes for Health. It was established in 1994. It contains information for both the healthcare professional and consumer. Some of the information at this site is the dietary supplement fact sheets, a dictionary of dietary supplement terms, and dietary supplement label database. Let's take a look at the Office of Dietary Supplements website. So I'm at the National Institutes for Health Office of Dietary Supplements website. And you can see right off the bat that it looks like it is formulated more for a consumer, but there is information here for your healthcare professional. So if we again look at the About tab, we will find out information about the Office for Dietary Supplements. And here you can see the mission, the origin, and the mandate of the ODS. And you can see that the mission is to strengthen knowledge and understanding of dietary supplements by evaluating scientific information, stimulating and supporting research, and disseminating research results, as well as educating the public to foster and enhance quality of life and health for the U.S. population. The information we like generally here under health information, and under this you see the dietary supplement fact sheets, you see some videos, consumer updates on dietary supplements, and then here's a link to resources for the healthcare professional, how to evaluate health information on the internet, questions and answers, my medical record. This reminds me of an MTM form. Dietary supplements, what you need to know. This is again more directed toward the consumer. And then the dictionary of dietary supplement terms, and the information from the Department of Defense on dietary supplement use. So let's go ahead and just look at the link here for healthcare professionals. And under this link you can see that you have again links to the dietary supplement fact sheets, what you need to know, dietary supplement terms, and then that my medical record, and then frequently asked questions. So if we look at the dietary supplement fact sheets, you do get a listing of the dietary supplements. You can search a dietary supplement by putting the name into the search bar, or you can just browse through it. And for example, let's just pull up biotin. So again, you get some resources here for a consumer in Espanol, in Spanish, and then for the healthcare professional. So I clicked on the healthcare professional, and you can see I have a little an outline here to the left, and I can read about biotin. And you also do see that this page is referenced, which is very nice again. As a drug information specialist, we really do like to see sources that are referenced. So again, I just clicked on other resources to bring me back. And then I can click back to the dietary supplement fact list to go back to the main list of dietary supplements. So the other thing I wanted to show you again under health information, there is a dictionary of dietary supplement terms, and I'll let you look at that at your own. But I wanted to show you this dietary supplement label database. So once you click you need to click it again to the dietary supplement label database. And basically, this is a database of dietary supplements and their labels, so the information contained on the bottle. So if I did put in here biotin, you can see that there are 265 products in the United States that have biotin in them. And I just want to show you a little bit about this database, but you can look up the exact brand name. So here's one, Bluebonnet Beauty Ally Biotin. If I click on that, I'll get the label information for this product. I know it's 10,000 units, micrograms, and we know that it's a kosher capsule. So they do have it up here in the corner. So if I click on this label, I should be able to download it, and then I can view it in a larger setting. So again, this is the dietary supplement label database. I'd probably go here to see if a product contained any type of excipient or what kind of products are most likely available for a consumer to use. I don't routinely use this, but once in a while I do find myself needing to look up more information on a specific supplement. So again, this was the Office of the Dietary Supplements, brought to us by the National Institutes of Health. And most of the resources I use are here under this Health Information tab. So the American Botanical Council website has in it the German Commission E monographs. So the German E Commission is a scientific advisory board, and it was formed in 1978. The Commission gives scientific expertise for the approval of substances and products previously used in traditional, folk, and herbal medicine. The Commission E monographs were imported to the U.S. in 1998 by the American Botanical Council. And in Germany, where these monographs originated, only those herbs considered approved are legally available. At this website, we will take a look at the Commission E monographs. We'll take a look at HerbMed Pro, Healthy Ingredients, ABC Clinical Guide to Herbs, Medicinal Plant ID, and Adulterants. I want to make you aware that it's a little bit different how we get to this website. We're actually going to type in the journal names Herbalgram and choose the online access. So let's take a look at the American Botanical Council website. I'd like to show you how you can get to the American Botanical Council website. So again, when you come to the Health Sciences Library homepage, you're going to go over here where it says search, and you're going to choose journals. And here type in Herbalgram, Herbalgram, and hit search. And you're going to choose the online access, so it's the second one here. It says Herbalgram, Austin, Texas, online. Choose online access, and then choose the second one here. It says EBSCO, Indigenous Collection. And that is going to take you to the American Botanical Council site. And you see that when you come to this site, the first thing you see is Herbalgram. And we'll review this when we talk about journals in just a little bit. But I did want to show you the Commission E monographs. So again, the index to the site is over here to the left. And if we click on Commission E monographs, you can browse the monographs. So I just choose to approve herbs and just take a look at one of the monographs. Why don't we just take a look at cola nut? So again, you can see that it has a little monograph here. This was published in 1991, and it tells you a little about the composition of the herb, its uses. Cola nut, of course, has caffeine in it. The drug contains at least 1.5% of methylxanthine, caffeine, theobromine. It tells you contraindications, side effects, interactions, a dosage, a mode of administration, actions. We can go to HerbMed Pro. So I looked at cola nut. Let's just see if they have one for cola nut. And they do. So when I type in cola nut, I get a lot of entries. But the first one here is under bitter cola. Let's just take a see what this is. Garcinia cola. And I wanted to show you under HerbMed Pro how you can have links to the primary literature. So here I can see that I have a scientific name, a family name, a common name, but then I start getting links to scientific literature. So under evidence for efficacy, I can go under clinical trials. And it doesn't really give much information in a summary format, but what it does give you is links to the primary journal articles. And I can see here, now that we're talking about it, Garcinia cola ophthalmic solution. So I don't know that this is a caffeine derivative at all. Significantly reduced intraocular pressure. So then I can click on the link to bring me to the primary article. It's going to open up in PubMed the primary article. So I can go back to my other tab to get the information. And then up here I can click on View Entire Record or back to Category List. So in this record here for HerbMed Pro for Garcinia cola, you can see that it was last updated in November 2016. So you can see this is a very robust database with links again to the primary literature. So I would definitely go here if I wanted to find out some information that I needed to get a primary article. So again, I just wanted to make you aware that you do have access to the American Botanical Council's website, and in here you do have the German e-monographs, and you also have access to HerbMed Pro, which HerbMed Pro again is a database that links you to the primary literature. I just clicked on the expanded e-monographs, and again this just lists some more herbs here and it gives you a monograph. So let's just pull up peppermint leaf. And here you can see you get a much bigger monograph, and this monograph under the expanded, these are referenced. So again, we like to know where they're getting their information from. So I would definitely use the expanded if I needed to get information so I can assess their references. Again, that was expanded E. And then we just went over HerbMed Pro, and then the ABC Guide is a guide that's put out by the American Botanical Council on clinical use of herbs. So this is like a book that will come up, and it has a table of contents. So if you needed to do some research on herbs in general and their clinical use, you may want to consider coming here and looking at the ABC Guide. So again, you can see it gives you a background on herbal medicine, tells you about some herbs, some clinical overviews, patient seeds, and single herb monographs. It also gives you some proprietary herbal products, and then along with some appendices. Another thing the American Botanical Council website has is Medicinal Plant ID. So here you can see this is going to help you identify a plant if you needed to identify something. So I just clicked on Ginkgo biloba, and it gives you a description of what the herb looks like. I would use this site to look at the expanded e-monographs or the HerbMed Pro, specifically to give me information in the primary literature. So another secondary source we have access to is the Allied and Complementary Medicine Database. This database is produced by the Healthcare Information Service of the British Library and has resources that cover 3 separate subject areas. The Allied Medicine, which includes physiotherapy, occupational therapy, rehabilitation, speech and language therapy, and podiatry, complementary medicine, and also palliative care. It operates through Ovid, so it may look very familiar to you. And you access this through the library site. Let's take a look at Ahmed. Once you're at the library site, I would normally get to Ahmed by going through resources and then choosing databases, but this was giving me trouble. Let's see what we're, oh yes, it's still giving me trouble. Can't really figure it out from this. So another way to get to the database is to go ahead up here in your search bar and type in Ahmed, A-M-E-D, hit search, and here it is. So it's a database, it's Ahmed, and I just click online access. And then once I get this screen that gives you information, you click on Allied and Complementary Medicine Database. And you see this looks, it's running through Ovid, which many of you probably use for your PubMed searches. And I was just in here searching ginkgo with dementia. So let's just go ahead and repeat this search. Again, under keyword, you type in the keyword you're interested in. And in this case, I just did ginkgo. And I can check it here. Select ginkgo biloba. Continue. And then I would put another keyword in, dementia. And then write continue. And then here I would just click them, and I'm going to do an and combine them. And you can see that I will get 27 results. I'm looking right here, 27 results with ginkgo biloba and dementia. And then just looking at this very first one, the effects of ginkgo biloba on dementia, an overview of systematic reviews. Well, that sounds pretty interesting. As you remember, your evidence-based medicine pyramid, at the top of that pyramid is meta-analysis and systematic reviews. So let's see if we can get a hold of this one. It's published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology. So what we would do is we'd come over here and say Library Holdings. And we can click on the Health Science Library Article Linker tab. And it tells us whether or not we have the full text, and it just say full text available. So I click on that, and then it brings me to the Elsevier SD Freedom Collection. Just click on that. Oh, and I do get this article, Effects of Ginkgo biloba on Dementia, an Overview of Systematic Reviews. I can download it, or I could just read the HTML. You can see over here at the left an outline. I always tell my students to look at the supplemental material. Whenever you're going to be doing a journal review or critically analyzing an article, you always want to see all material that's published on that article. Okay, so again, this is looking at AMED, Allied Medicine database, and I would definitely consider using this database if I needed to search some information that was not in PubMed. Another source you can use and should use is Medline. And I will be reviewing PubMed specifically. I know that prior in this course that you did some literature searches using Ovid. I like to teach my students how to use PubMed. PubMed is supported by the National Institutes of Health, and it's available anywhere. To get the full text, however, you may need to purchase it, but I do like to have my students use PubMed. And importantly, we need to use the medical subject heading vocabulary that's included with PubMed. And you can get PubMed by accessing the library. And you get to PubMed from the Health Science Library. You can choose it here under Biomedical Biosciences, or you can come up here under PubMed and search if you're looking for a specific article. I often will just copy the title and put it in here. But let's go ahead and choose PubMed from the top resources, Biomedical Biosciences. And then I always teach my students to use the MESH terms, which is the Controlled Vocabulary Medical Subject Headings. It's under the drop-down list, MESH. And in here you would put in the term you are interested in. For example, if we're interested in valerian, we would just type in valerian and it would bring up the MESH record. So again, this is the record of the term in the medical subject heading database. Let me just show you a few things about this. So if I click on valerian, I can see that it was introduced in 1991. And it's a type of a heliotropium. It gives you a explanation of what the term is. It's a plant genus from the family Valeriaceae, and is best known for sedative use. It has the common subheadings, and I know you did a lesson of this earlier in this course, so I don't want to spend a lot of time, but I wanted to show you some things that I use the MESH database for. And you know, here you can restrict it to a major medical topic. Do not include MESH terms found below, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. The best thing about MESH is that you have entry terms, so you don't have to search all the synonyms for valerian. The indexers took care of this for you. So all of these entry terms, whenever they're in the article's title or abstract, PubMed will return that article. Keep in mind PubMed only searches MESH terms and keywords within the title, within the abstract, and within this entry terms list. It is not searching the entire article for those keywords or mesh terms. And then we can go down to the tree structure to see where it fits in. You can see it goes all the way back here to plants, but we read above that it's from this class, Valerianaceae. So when we click on that, we can also see what other types of plants fall under this class. So a great example of the benefits of mesh terms is if we would put in end-stage renal disease, and if we match this to a mesh term, you see it comes up to chronic kidney failure. You can see that it was introduced in 1967, and all the subheaders differ according to the mesh term. But here's what I wanted to point out about end-stage renal disease, all your entry terms. So when you put in end-stage renal disease and you map it to the mesh term chronic kidney failure, it includes all of these entry terms. So any of these entry terms within the article's title or abstract, or again entry terms, an article will be retrieved. And you can see here that it's under chronic renal failure, end-stage renal disease, and we can also see, it gives us hints, see also uremia and renal dialysis. So to get a complete search for, if you were looking for something with end-stage renal disease, we would want to also search renal dialysis and uremia. And you can see where chronic kidney failure falls underneath the tree, the mesh tree. It falls under chronic renal insufficiency. If we click on that, we will see that the only two things under here are chronic kidney failure and Fraser syndrome. So again, that's just a very brief snippet of how I use the mesh terms. I always tell my students, use the mesh terms. If you choose the correct mesh terms, you can be pretty certain that you have searched all viable literature within PubMed. Okay. To have a complete search, you search mesh terms and keywords. Remember that your newer articles are not yet indexed, so they won't have a mesh term assigned to them. So now that I got off my soapbox about mesh terms, let's go ahead and just again go back to our Valerian. So you could choose Valerian. I'd like to click on them and see what the subheadings are and everything else. But when starting out, if I don't think it's going to be a broad search, I won't worry about a subheading. I will choose subheadings when I think it's going to be a broad search and I'll get a lot of hits. But for right now, let's just add that to the search builder. And then let's go ahead and look up insomnia. Now we know there's several types of insomnia. And again, I would double check the mesh term. So right here in the first sentence, you see it has both types of insomnia, impairment in ability to initiate or maintain sleep. And we can see all these other entry terms that will be tagged. So if an article has the word sleeplessness in it, PubMed will tag this if I use the mesh term insomnia. So I am going to go ahead and add this to my search builder, and I'm going to search PubMed. And we can see that we have 50 articles regarding Valerian and insomnia that are limited to human and English. So 50 is a bit much to review. So I often will have students start with review articles. So if you remember your evidence-based pyramid, at the top of that is going to be your meta-analysis and systematic reviews, followed by your RCTs. But in this case, we're really interested in efficacy. So we're going to go in here under article types. You can customize and choose your article types, but I am interested in clinical trials, and you'll see that there's one down here for randomized controlled trial right here. So I want to show randomized controlled trial, and I'm going to choose randomized controlled trial. And I do get 12. So 12 is much easier for you to assess than 50. You can also use the article type as a mesh term, but I chose it here as a limit. So I would go ahead, and if I was interested in the efficacy, I would pull up one of these articles and take a look. So just to remind you, you get the full text links here. I always recommend if there's a free one, pull that up first. If there's not, go to the Health Science Library article linker, and it'll take you right into the library and show you whether or not the library has the full text to this article. So again, PubMed's an excellent source to retrieve primary literature on all types of integrated health. Another secondary source you have access to is the Cochrane Library. And in the Cochrane Library, I will review with you the Cochrane Systematic Reviews database. And this is a database that contains systematic reviews and meta-analysis. And you can access Cochrane through the library. So to get to the Cochrane Library, you go again to the Health Sciences Library homepage, and you'll see it listed right underneath PubMed. It's Cochrane Library. So let's click on the Cochrane Library. And it brings us to the Cochrane Library. So again, remember the Cochrane Library is, it has several databases in it, but what we're going to really look at are the Cochrane Reviews. And Cochrane Library is much smaller than PubMed, so I just recommend you put in your titles and abstracts and keywords right here. You don't really need an advanced search. You don't need to use any controlled vocabulary because this database is so much smaller than PubMed. Just look at their homepage. You can see that they've completed a review about progestin, prevention and miscarriage, preventing falls in elderly, reviews of prognosis studies. Then they have information on interactive learning and videos if you want some tutorials. You could browse by topic. You can see complementary and alternative medicine is right here under browse by topic and C. So you can see that there's 7,802 Cochrane reviews on the topic of complementary and alternative medicine. There are protocols, trials. This links back to PubMed and to the primary literature, editorials, special collections, and clinical answers. But I tend to use this database for the reviews themselves. So let's just look. This one looks interesting. Mind and body therapy for fibromyalgia. So again, we would just click on the title, and you would see the paper itself. You can view the PDF. You can view the plain language summary. And I always do recommend my students start out with viewing the plain language summary. Be careful when trying to print the entire document. These documents can be hundreds of pages. A lot of them are around, over 50 pages. But if we start with the plain language summary, we can get an idea of what went on with this study. So we will take a much deeper look at the Cochrane reviews when we look at a meta-analysis. But Cochrane is an excellent source when you want to see if there is a systematic review or meta-analysis on a therapy. You can also search for meta-analysis and systematic reviews in PubMed, and using systematic reviews and or meta-analysis as a publication type. But if I know I would like to see if there is a meta-analysis or systematic review, I'd go to the Cochrane Library. Another database we have access to is TRIP. This is the Turning Research into Practice database. TRIP is a clinical search engine, so it will return primary literature articles, review articles, conference proceedings, and it also has a PICO search bar. You can access TRIP through the library. Let's take a look at the TRIP database. And you get to TRIP not by going through the top resources because it's not listed here, but by going by the resource button here. So you click on resources, and then you go to A to Z databases. And do you remember earlier I thought this just did not look like it was in order, but if we keep paging down, we're going to come to the databases. So this is a listing of all the databases that the library has in alphabetical order. And you can search also by subject, but we're going to go ahead and click on T for TRIP and enter the TRIP database. So here you have a general search field here. You have a PICO search field and an advanced in research. I generally would just use the general search term field, but you can also search by a PICO, which is patient, or here they have population, intervention, comparison, and outcome. And it gives you the hints, the type of patient, such as a patient with diabetes, the intervention, any therapy that's given or diagnostic test, the comparison, what are you comparing your intervention to, and we often leave this blank, and the outcome, what is the outcome of interest, reduced mortality, fewer exacerbations, decreased hospital stay. But like I said, when I usually go to TRIP, I am searching under the main search field. So let's just search valerian. And we can put down insomnia, and we see we get 97 results. And then TRIP's best suggestion for this is an effectiveness of valerian on insomnia, a meta-analysis of randomized placebo-controlled trials. And the source is DARE, Dare's no longer in existence, but we can probably get an abstract from here to see if we can get a full text. But what I wanted to show you about TRIP is, remember our evidence-based medicine pyramid? Well, they kind of have it here highlighted, and they show you what it is, whether it's a systematic review or primary research. Here they have a textbook, a family practice notebook. It's an online free notebook. It's obviously was developed for your medical students and residents. We also have guidelines here. Tells you that here we have a U.S. guideline. Clinical practice guidelines are pharmacologic treatment of chronic insomnia and from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. We have valerian root from the family practice notebook. And primary research, those are your primary research articles. So again, here's a UK guideline. I would not necessarily use this at first chance when I'm looking for primary literature, but again, if you're looking for other types of literature, you could certainly consider using TRIP. And let's just choose this one, clinical practice guideline here. Now remember, we can search clinical practice guidelines when we are in PubMed. We choose the publication type as clinical practice guidelines. It's actually under P for practice guidelines. But again, you can use other sources to find guidelines. So this is a free article, and we can see that it's clinical practice guidelines for insomnia, brought to us by the American Academy of Sleep Medicines. Now I hope all of you know your Control F function. So I'm going to try to find where they have valerian. And you see here, it's right here, number 14. We suggest that clinicians not use valerian as treatment for sleep onset. If I try to see where it's again in the article, I can hopefully I'm looking for the literature to support this. And it basically says that conflicting evidence was noted for valerian for short-term use. And they are citing a conference, number 13. And we can go down a little further, and we get here to a discussion, and this is what I was looking for, the primary article in which they're citing valerian doesn't work. So again, we can see that this is, let's see, this is diphenhydramine, so it must be this one, 136, yes, Morin, valerian hops combination, and diphenhydramine for treating insomnia. So again, the TRIP database, Turning Research into Practice, is just another secondary source that you do have access to. Another database we can use as a last resort is Google Scholar. Google Scholar, just to remind you, does not use Boolean logic operators. You put in your keywords, whichever ones you want to search, and I'll give you some hints about searching Google Scholar. I use Google Scholar to tell me if the library has a full text of the article. It's very easy to do, and Google Scholar is easy to tell what articles cite a particular article, so I'll show you that feature also. But let's take a look at Google Scholar. So how do we get to Google Scholar? To get to Google Scholar, you simply just go to your search bar here and type in Scholar Google. Now what I want to show you is you need to set your library links so that it's linked to the University of Colorado. So over here where these three little bars are, click on those and go to Settings. Down here is Settings, and then you're going to go to Library Links. Now I teach full-time at Regis University, so that's why I have Regis University tagged, but I'm going to untag those for this purpose, and I want to make sure I have University of Colorado, so all you do is type in University of Colorado, and you can search it, and you see you get a little bit more here. University of Colorado Boulder, University of Colorado Law, University of Colorado Colorado Springs. But you want to make sure you have tagged University of Colorado, Anschutz Medical Campus, full text at CU Anschutz. And then the only other one that's tagged here is Open World Catalog. It's a free one. So then you're going to hit Save. So now whenever I search in Scholar, it'll link my articles to the University of Colorado's library. So again, when using Google Scholar, there are some things you can do to help your search. First, we want to put in the first term that we're really interested in. So let's just put in valerian again and insomnia. You do not use Boolean logic operators in Google Scholar. So don't use and, don't use or. You're going to use just the keywords, and you put them in order by what you wanted to search first. And let's just show you what happens here. With just valerian and insomnia, I got 7,780 hits. I often will uncheck the citations and the patents. Patents, not patients, patents. We don't want patents. Now, this is such a large topic. Now I get 6,900. I will, anytime here, I'll say like since 2014. So let me show you over here to the right. You can see if it's available in a PDF or if the library has it. Full text at CU Anschutz means the library has it. Like down here on this one, Pharmacologic Treatment of Insomnia, HTML, we don't see full text by CU Anschutz. So it's not brought to you by CU Anschutz. So I suggest that whenever there's a PDF, the PDF should be available. And if it doesn't say PDF, I would then go to full text at CU Anschutz. So let's just take a look and see what we have here. Again, when we limit to 2014, we get 1,600 results, which is quite a few. So we could add, with a couple things we could do now. We could add randomized controlled trial. We could also search for this in the title. So to do that, we go back here to the little 3 bars, and we choose advanced search. So you can say, right now it's searching for valerian and insomnia anywhere in the article. But let's say we wanted to search for it in the title. We can just change the button to say search in title. And you see only 2 articles are returned from 2014 onward. The other thing, I already know this, that I can put in all in title colon, and then I can put my words in the search bar. So if I don't want to do that, although these both look interesting, here's one specific to menopausal women, and here's one that says there's no effect on valerian in insomnia. But I'll just hit the back button so I can get them all, and I want these anywhere in the article. So the only advanced search you can do with Google Scholar is you can look for exact phrases, and that's where you put them in quotes. You can say without any of these words, you're going to put a minus in front of that word, and then you can of course choose it to be in the title. So using quotes is a good idea if you want to search for like clinical practice guidelines. Of course, you need to spell the word correctly, so make sure you spell your words correctly. And then if I hit search, I get 80 results, and what it's picking up is any article that has valerian, insomnia, and then clinical practice guidelines as a phrase in it. And we see that we went down from 1,700 to 80 results. So clinical management of insomnia disorder by JAMA. So this looks interesting because, again, JAMA is a well-known, reputable journal. So if we wanted to look at this article, we would come over here and click on full text at CU Anschutz. And it's going to bring me to the library site. And it does tell me that we're able to get the full text is available. I come down here, full text available at free medical journals, or full text available at JAMA and archive journals. So I'm going to actually pick JAMA and archive journals. Must log in again. And the reason I picked JAMA is I knew it would bring me to the JAMA website, which is prettier and nicer to look at than the other website. So again, you can get access to this article, Clinical Management of Insomnia Disorders. You can download the PDF. So to get back, you click your other tab and you have to hit the back button. So the other feature I like about Google Scholar is it has this cited by. So if I want to see, for example, what other articles cited the clinical management of insomnia disorder, I can click on cited by, and I will get those 7 articles that cited that one. So this one does look interesting, insomnia in older adults. It doesn't say we have it at all. So we wouldn't be able to get access to this full text. You may have to ask it if you wanted it by interlibrary loan, which does cost money. So the other thing I like to use Google Scholar for is I will put in clinical practice guidelines, like I said before. This is a clinical practice guideline brought to us from the South African Family Practice. I will use it for protocols with regards to pharmacy departments. But it would be my last database to search. For example, if we just put in music therapy, Since 2014, we have 18,000 results. And you see this first one is a book. So what's interesting is we don't see any from the University of Colorado right here because these were all books. So this one does look interesting. Look, music therapy for people with schizophrenia and schizophrenia-like disorders. And you see that it's brought to us by the Cochrane database. So we just reviewed Cochrane. We know we can get to the Cochrane database and review this article. So this one down here, classical music therapy for reducing stress during latent phase of labor. It has a PDF. So we should be able to get to the article by clicking on that PDF. And yes, there is the article. So when you download this, you would be able to, right here is the download, you'd be able to turn it so it can go sideways. And then you also can click on this little arrow. So this is a very brief article about music therapy and labor. So again, with Google Scholar, you've got to remember to hit that back button. If you click out of it, you're going to have to redo your whole search. So again, that's just a little bit about Google Scholar. Remember to use the quotes. If you have a phrase, search your main term first. Don't use any Boolean logic. And generally, I will again use this one as last resort. The first journal I wanted to talk about was Evidence-Based Complementary and Alternative Medicine. So the way you find these journals is you go up to the library homepage under Journal, and you're just searching for the journal name. So this one is Evidence-Based Complementary and Alternative Medicine. And then you hit the search button. And you can see a couple of them come up. There is another one called Journal of Evidence-Based Complementary and Alternative Medicine. And then there's a Journal of Evidence-Based Integrative Medicine. And then there's a Complementary Health Practice Review. So I chose the one to review as Evidence-Based Complementary and Alternative Medicine. You can certainly look at any of these. They again are just some of the journals that are linked up to some of the databases we used. All these journals would be linked to PubMed, but I don't believe they're PubMed index journals, but also to AMED that we went over, AMED, and also of course Google Scholar. So again, you just click on the journal name and then you go under and you want to click on one of these blue links. And I generally like to click on the one that's by the company publishing it, but that's not an option here, so I would just go ahead and choose the first one, Directory of Open Access Journals. So this does bring us to the company webpage. We're going to get rid of this about the cookies. And then you can read about this journal. It's open access. So a word of caution about open access journals is they are often associated with a fee. So in order for your author to publish in this journal, they have to pay a fee. So please be careful about that. And you can find out how much that fee is by looking here. And it's this one's nice. It tells me article processing charges. So when we click on that, we can see that in order for an article to be published in this journal, the author has to pay $2,250. So that's not uncommon with open access journals. So again, but for our purposes, I want to browse the journals. I'm going to browse this table of contents right here. And it will generally take me to the latest issue, but here I can see all the table of contents for the journal here. And I can just take a look and see what kind of articles are being published. So again, you can see this is international. We have some studies about in China, Japanese subjects. You also have rats. So this journal provides a wide variety of types of articles in it. This one looks interesting. Again, it's probably done in China, but let's take a look at efficacy comparison of 5 different acupuncture methods on pain, stiffness, and function in osteoarthritis of the knee, a network meta-analysis. A network meta-analysis is different than a regular meta-analysis, and if you need to know more information about a network meta-analysis, just let me know. And then we can get to the article itself. You can see we can read the abstract and see what they say. It says the conclusions are that our network meta-analysis demonstrated that acupuncture with heat pain or electrical stimulation might be suggested as a better choice than all acupuncture methods for osteoarthritis of the knee. And then we can go through and look at it. So again, this was just one of the journals I noticed that the library carries, evidence-based, complementary, and alternative medicine. So another journal you have access to is Herbalgram. So remember, go to journals, so we're going to type in Herbalgram, and we're going to go not to print but to the online access. We're going to choose the EBSCO Indigenous Collection, and it's going to take me to the American Botanical Council site and Herbalgram. And you can see that it does bring up the most recent issue, which is common when you do click on the journal websites. And you can look under research reviews. That's probably what we are interested in. Of course, they have others. They have herb profiles here. They have news. This is the British, and they have news also. But let's just take a look at herb supplement sales market report. So this is very interesting that they also have all this other information on reports regarding sales of herbal therapies. But if we click on clinical efficacy of a Chinese herbal combination for mild cognitive impairment, we can see that this is a 24-week randomized phase 3 trial. So when I ask you at the end of the course to evaluate a clinical study, you could choose Herbalgram and to review one of the trials here. For instance, this one that said a 24-week randomized phase 3 trial. And of course it tells you all about it, and it goes through all the methods and everything else. But it's a review on a trial. So this trial was actually published in Evidence-Based Complementary Alternative Medicine, which is the journal we just looked at. So again, in the Herbalgram, it's going to give you a summary of the trial, but it will give you the citations if you wanted to read further that clinical trial. So I just hit the back button to go back. Again, it does say research review, so that's what this is giving you, a review on that product. So cannabis has definitely made it here in Colorado, hot topic here, and you can see that it's going to be reviewing medicinal uses of marijuana and cannabinoids and CRC critical review, plant science. And you can read a little bit about it here if it interests you. It looks like it's some type of a systematic review because it reviewed 140 controlled clinical trials. So again, this is Herbalgram, brought to you by the American Botanical Council, and I would certainly use this journal if I needed more information on herbs. And again, as we went over earlier, all the other information the American Botanical Council offers. So another journal you have access to is the Journal of Evidence-Based Integrative Medicine. So again, you just go to the Journals tab, Journal, but again we want to spell it correctly, of Evidence-Based Integrative Medicine. Journal of Evidence-Based Integrative Medicine, and we're going to access online access. So again, I want to go ahead and click on the first one's generally fine, but the different links offering you where this journal is, read the dates because sometimes they change. Again, you can see that the Journal of Evidence-Based Integrative Medicine is an open access journal, so that means it probably has a fee associated with it. So again, the concern with that is that if the author is paying to get their article published, there could be some sense of bias if the peer review process is not appropriate. And it just says right here that this journal is a member of the Committee on Publication Ethics. So hopefully articles in this journal are unbiased. And you can read latest articles, you can look at the most read articles, and you can look at the most cited articles. So latest articles, you can see that it has rat information, again looking at the liver, the P450 system. We're looking also at burnout with pediatric medical residents, and clinical trial herbal treatment for oral herpes. So let's just click on this clinical trial for herbal treatment for oral herpes. Again, we can accept the cookies, and you can see you get access to the trial itself. You can look at it. Retrospective chart review, so this is a retrospective cohort study, 68 participants, and it tells you a little bit about it and the conclusions. So again, if you want to get to the full text, you just thumb down for the HTML form. You can also download it to read it as a PDF or keep it. So I can click on Journal Home. I can also click on Browse Journal. You can browse all articles. You can search here. Let's put in music therapy, and we want to, in this journal, not all SAGE journals. So this looks interesting. A randomized trial of HARP therapy during IVF. Interesting. And then here are some research abstracts. How music changes matter. And then you can see that we're getting a little bit older here in the dates. So when I do have you do your final article review or topic presentation, I'm going to have you use resources that are more recent. That's what we would prefer, but obviously if there aren't any articles that are more recent, we will use the older ones. So again, this is just to show you a way you can browse table of contents of journals that are of interest to you. And this example was with the Journal of Evidence-Based Integrative Medicine. So the last journal I want to review is just the Journal of Natural Products. So again, when I input this name into the journal search, I do get the Journal of Natural Products, which we'll look at in just a moment. But I will also get other journals that have the same type of keywords in the title. So you can take a look and see all these other journals that they have access to. So if you wanted a journal that had the title word of complementary or alternative or integrative health, you would just put those keywords here under the journal search and they would all come up. But let's go ahead and click on Journal of Natural Products Online, and we can see we do get this from the American Chemical Society journals, and the Journal of Natural Products come up. I wanted to show you that this journal is more related to the chemistry of the natural product. As you can see here by the full text articles, they're looking at the mechanism, which we don't often need, but sometimes we do. So this would be a great journal to go to. But as you can see, there's not much in here about patients using these natural products. It's more about the mechanism and the pharmacology of these natural products. So again, this is the Journal of Natural Products from the American Chemistry Society, and it is the official journal for the Society of Pharmacognosy. It's down here at the bottom, the American Society of Pharmacognosy, and this is their official journal. So again, I would probably only go to this one if I really wanted detailed information on the mechanism of an herb or pharmacology of it. So in conclusion, there are many different options you have to search for information regarding integrated health topics. Don't forget about your tertiary resources, such as the clinical pharmacology, lexicon, facts and comparisons, and micromedics. You also have Dynamed and UpToDate. Today we went over some of our secondary resources, such as Allied and Complementary Medicine Database, AMED, PubMed, Cochrane Database, TRIP, Google Scholar, and we also reviewed some primary resources. Contact me again if you have any questions.